Peace and blessings and greetings. Once again, welcome to King Talk Tuesday, the show with real views, real news, and a real talk. I'm your host, Andy King. We are here every Tuesday at 8 p.m. We cover so many topics, whether it's education, health, economics, spirituality, and so much more. I look forward to you all joining me throughout the week for dynamic and inspiring conversations. King Talk Tuesdays airs and streams on Facebook and our YouTube channel every Tuesday at 8 p.m. As well, we also air on Optimal Channel 70 and Files 2136. We also are streaming on a number of streaming services such as Roku TV, Amazon Prime, Millennial TV 24, and Clash TV. I encourage all our viewers, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, King Talk Tuesdays, so you don't miss any of our previous episodes. You can also check your local listings to catch King Talk Tuesdays throughout the week. I want to thank everyone who's been tuning in and watching and sharing a thought and comment and just being a guest on King Talk Tuesday. Because you know what I say, right? People pay attention to people who participate. So tell a friend, tell a neighbor that King Talk Tuesdays is on right now, and they can drop a comment or question in our Facebook or our YouTube page. But you can also email us at kingtalktuesdays@gmail.com. Again, our email address is kingtalktuesdays@gmail.com. We'll be right back on King Talk Tuesdays after the message from a couple of our friends.
Welcome to Therodynamics, where we get you back to life. We offer physical therapy, occupational therapy, and speech therapy. We accept all major insurances. Don't worry about an appointment. At Therodynamics, walk-ins are accepted. We have locations in the Bronx, Manhattan, Queens, and New Jersey. Our therapists, combined with our cutting-edge technology, will get you back to life. Visit our website at www.therodynamics.com for locations, services, and more.
Good Neighbors Community Outreach Agency provides programs that help community residents improve their lives and support their families. Are you in need of food, clothing, employment, or a home? We also provide immigration services and passport renewal.
Hi, I'm Pastor Glad.
And I'm Lady D.
We're here to serve you.
Need help?
Ask us.
You can reach us by calling 718-652-3288 or visit us at gncdcny.org.
Well, I want to say thank you to our good friends at Therodynamics to help you put your body back to life, whether it's an injury to your neck, knee, your back, your eyes, even your head. Therodynamics is the answer to get you back to life. And our friends at Good Neighbors. Thank you, Pastor Pitt, Pastor Glad Johnson, as well as Lady D, doing all you can to help people live in this life. As tough as it may be, everyone always needs a hand with the work that you do to giving out social services to so many of our residents here in the Bronx. There's a lot of things happening in the world, but you know what I really want to know? Oh, yes, Marvin Gaye used to say, "What's going on? What's going on?" Well, you know what's going on in the city of New York. Applications for the New York City Summer Rising program will be opening April 17th until May 1st. Summer Rising is free and available to all New York City students in grades K to 8, pending seats availability, of course. For more information, please, and to apply, visit nyc.gov/Summer Rising. Again, that's nyc.gov/Summer Rising. Number 2 on the count, I'll let you know what's happening. Today, I love this. CUNY and SUNY announces the end to COVID-19 vaccine mandates for students and staff. The end of this mandate will go into effect at the 22nd CUNY, at the 22 CUNY colleges and for central offices employees on the last day of spring semester. Congratulations as we try to get back to life. Third, we'll let you know that Governor Hochul announces part of the fiscal year 2024 budget will go towards rebuilding New York's mental health care system, including adding 3,500 housing units for New Yorkers with mental health illness, increasing inpatient and psychiatric treatment. This capacity is going to handle an additional 1,000 beds, so kudos to that. And lastly, we want to share with you, we are in a world that violence is prevalent, and one of the most horrific crimes that ever can be committed is when someone takes something that's personal from someone. Domestic violence, sexual abuse, all of that is a crime within itself. So we want to let you know that Denim Day in the Bronx is March, Thursday, April 20th. 161st Street, there'll be a walk, there'll be a march, a whole lot of information about those who have gone through such ugly behaviors from a loved one, from a neighbor, from a so-called friend, or just a stranger. But we want to stick strong with all of our brothers, and more importantly, our sisters have gone through any of this violence that's so ugly in the world today. Well, let's talk about what's going on in the world today. I have two great gentlemen who are going to break it down for us, because we're going to have a conversation about social justice. And what exactly is social justice? Well, a lot of people keep saying about equity and fairness. Well, let's talk about let's get what the dictionary tells us what social justice is supposed to be. Social justice is the view that everyone deserves an equal economic, political, and social rights and opportunity. Wait a minute, say that again. Social justice is the view that everyone deserves equal economics, political, and social rights and opportunities. Social workers aim to open those. And I'm a social worker myself. All my life been a social worker. And the goal was, like they said, to aim to open doors of access and opportunities for everyone, particularly those in the greatest needs. And social justice also refers to a fair and equitable division of resources, opportunities, privileges in today's society. I wonder how that's faring out for those of us who are still fighting and crying and demanding social justice. Well, my two brothers that are going to break it down for us and talk about what the world is like today, I want to welcome both of them back. Again, this good man, and I got to say to him, Ramadan Kareem, because I know we're in the middle of Ramadan, and I want to thank him for being an imam. I want to thank him for being a sheikh. I want to thank him for just being a brother that's spiritual, a brother who's out here on the front lines fighting and calling truth out to power. Welcome back to King Talk Tuesday, my brother Sheikh Musa Drama. How you doing, good man? Welcome to King Talk Tuesday.
Hey, thank you so much, my brother, for having me back on again. I hope my line will not disappoint me today.
Oh, well, this is a spiritual high power conversation. I'm pretty sure you're going to be steady. It's going to be a steady flow of electricity going through you in today's messaging. So thank you. And our next guest is no stranger to King Talk Tuesday, but no stranger in the struggle in the cause of social justice. The organization that he helps manage here in the city of New York is nationwide and globally has had an impact on social justice issues for decades. I want to welcome to King Talk Tuesday, my brother, Derek Perkison, the citywide leader for the National Action Network. What's up, D Perk? How are you?
Thank you, my brother Andy King. Thank you for doing this. This is very important. I love your show. Thank you. Thanks for having me, Sheikh. Imam, it's great to be with you today.
Thank you.
Thank you. So let's just jump right in. We're talking about social justice. You just heard me break down the definition of what social justice actually is supposed to be. So I'm going to go to you, Iman. Sheikh, talk to us a little bit about what is social justice mean in your brain and in the work that you do.
Yeah, thank you so much, actually, and Ramadan Mubarak to your viewers, you and your viewers. And, well, we're in the month of Ramadan. What's, more appropriate to talk about social justice than in Ramadan? We fast because we were told that unless you can relate to those that are less fortunate than you are, then you pretty much can deliver social justice to people. You fast because you get hungry, you get tired, you get thirsty, and you deny yourself those that the place of life, so that you can relate to those that do not have the option of denying themselves these blessings. So that's number one. Number two, we also are experiencing, I think, one of the most challenging moment in our lives where I would say pretty much we're all sitting duck in, mass shootings all over the place. So I think we have lot of work, to do. And so we're ready. So we're ready in the Bronx.
Okay. All right. Good to hear that. Brother D Perk, talk to us. National Action Network, social justice. What does it mean?
Andy King, man, I'm going to sound like a broken radio on your show. because I trace everything to economic empowerment, how we spend our dollars, who we spend our dollars with, and we're not really responsible with our dollars. Our people like to buy clothing and shoes and things of that nature, and not knowing the value of property and stocks, investments. So we have a long way to go. And but we're going to keep fighting for social justice, against police brutality, against our people being killed on a daily basis, unchecked, and we're going to continue to do that. And that's what the National Action Network stands for: equal standard of justice for all individuals, regardless of nationality, religion, race, or creed. So we're just going to keep fighting. But economically, we have to change the mindset. And get our people united behind the economic power we have.
Economic power. I'd like to stay on that for a second, Musa, because I know you've had this Peace December, and part of the conversations that you've had in the past is making sure that the community's economics stay strong. And when economics are strong, you open the door to your own self-opportunity as opposed to waiting for someone to give you an opportunity. Can you talk a little bit about how in the community that you're working with, how economics has a play on establishing justice in the neighborhood?
That was me, Imam. That was me. So here in the neighborhood, it's about where do we put our dollars? How are we financially responsible against? And again, it's really not spending money with companies that do not have our best interests at heart. We just here in Harlem had another police shooting in a store, a grocery store on 125th Street, on Lenox Avenue, Malcolm X Boulevard, and it's just continual violence and drug dealing and all of these things. So this store does not have our best interests of the community in their mind, so they need to shut down. They're not being responsible. They're just doing a whole bunch of different things over there with the drug market. So that's the type of thing on one level. You got to have workforce development in our neighborhoods. I was at a presentation tonight, I told you earlier, with College Community Fellowship, the ladies here, and they brought up the 7 zip codes, the 7 zip codes that are most criminally impacted. You go upstate New York, 75% of the jail population are from these 7 zip codes. So these 7 zip codes, we know where they are. And these 7 zip codes, what I learned today at the presentation, are also food deserts. These are people that don't have a lot of food in these districts as well. So these people are robbing to steal to eat. And then it escalates from there. But we have to be more financial, more responsible in where we direct a lot of these resources and how we spend them in our community. And workforce development is the key. We have this new AI technology coming into the market. It's going to take out thousands, hundreds of thousands of jobs. So what's going to happen to the middle and older people like ourselves who are going to be scrambling to catch up with the technology drive, and we're not going to be able to probably catch up with it. But then the younger people, are we putting them in position to be at the forefront of AI technology and repair and so on and so forth? So it's a trying time right now, and we got to get it together. Financially, in our communities, those are just 2 things I could rattle it off right now without taking too much more of your time.
Okay. Well, I want to pose that back to Sheikh, Musa, because I know you do this work regularly, and you've talked about economics in a number of your platforms, how it empowers, how it lifts. But if we don't have the proper balance, we don't ever get the proper justice because of the lack of the balance of economic success. So talk a little bit about your thoughts on this.
Yes, absolutely. Just to piggyback on, my fellow guests, I always put on social media a statement to the fact that no nation or people will truly be free or independent until they control the production, transportation, and consumption of what it needs. What I mean by that is, you look at average person, a black man or woman walking on the street, and then you find out how much of what they use, whether the clothes or the shoes or the food they eat, is the result of a production for people like him or her. And you will be hard pressed to know that maybe 99% of what that person needs to live is not being produced, meaning that the money is not coming back to his community or her community, not circulating. So we are just consuming and consuming and consuming. Whether we have a lot or little, it doesn't matter. We are consumers. So in order to change the status quo, we have to start normalizing failures and starting from schools. We're here in the Bronx. I'm here in the Bronx. And we have normalized, schools that, blacks, achieve certain, percentage, Latinos percentage, whites certain percentage, Asians this percentage. And you will always find blacks at the lowest percentage expected for them, to achieve. If you fail in school, you're most likely to fail in life. We have to start normalizing educational failure. We have to start normalizing schools that are not educating our children, schools that are, as they call it, prison pipeline. Schools, the teachers are wonderful, principals may be wonderful, but they're there to serve their jobs. The unions are there to serve their members' jobs. Perfect example. Repeatedly, study after study has shown public charter schools provide better outcomes for mostly minority students. But because of the UFT control on the elected officials, charter schools can no longer be open in New York City and in predominantly failing black neighborhoods. So we have to start normalizing failure, and we have to insist on excellency. And to do that, educational attainment must be the foundation for this economic opportunity, economic independence, and economic vibrancy. Other than that, we just continue to pray for things that educational attainment can provide for. Last but not least, I was an investment banker in the 90s when the internet was commercialized. Most of these major companies came to public under my watch. And today, in the Bronx, I have not seen many startups, tech startups. I traveled to San Francisco. I traveled to many parts of California. You go to these offices. I went to Twitter, headquarters. I went to some of these headquarters. You see very, very limited number of people that look like me. And most of the people who control these tech startups and become billionaires and controlling decision making of the world, and blacks achieving 50%, while Asians achieve 80, 90%. Unless we are competitive educationally, we're going to continue to work on catching up, and it will be very difficult to catch up.
Right. Well, I appreciate you said a number of things that resonate. Both of you have said a number of things, and it's just interesting. I know there was a point in time the conversation of trying to get these incubators here in the city of New York, and to help people start up, and these cooperatives that allowing people to come together. Some were successful, some get caught in the trickery of politics, some fail. But at least we got to try to do something different. But you mentioned something, and I kind of chuckled to it when you said we got to stop promoting for failures. The DOE and the school system is like supporting failure. And think about it. You have children today, we pat them on the back and we give them an award for just showing up and just for trying. Back in our days, if you didn't win first place, that's all that mattered. You support failure by saying, well, thanks for the try. Well, what? No one who remembers, we remember who the Super Bowl champion, but who did they play? So you're absolutely right. We got to start rewarding failure and just saying it's just trying is enough, because trying is not enough. Once you graduate to the next level to be in the world of adult life, then they look at, well, you haven't accomplished anything. So we just can't walk around promoting efforts and not promoting the success of accomplishing something. So I want to thank you both for that. And Derek, you said something that was really powerful, and I'm sad to hear what happened. I saw the story at the bodega and the crimes that were committed. But one of the things this is where government can step in. When I was in the council, we knew K2 was really big. It was going around killing folks, people in the store. So I came up with a piece of legislation the whole landlord's accountable for, because you cannot charge somebody $7,000 a month for rent, and they only selling Pepsis and sandwiches, and they still paying you $7,000 of rent. Where's that money coming from? And knowing that a lot of our landlords don't live in the areas that they have buildings, well, how are these people paying you? So you're absolutely right. If there's crime, there's drugs, everyone gets held accountable because that landlord is benefiting off those drug sales as well. So thank you for that. But another question just came in. They just want to get your ideas about, there's a lot of social justice issues that are on the table. Both of you are in the thick of it each and every day. Derek, if there's one or two that you want to share with people, what are some strong social justice issues that people should be paying attention to? And how can we educate communities on being involved to stand with that justice issue to make sure we get the equity and the equality that we're asking for?
Well, Andy, I'm glad you asked that question. Here at NAN, as a New York State field director, I cover a lot of the policy positions for the organization. A lot of times I cultivate and search for myself. A lot of times Reverend Sharpton put it in my lap and tell me to run with it. One of these pieces of policy I think everyone should get a part of is ending qualified immunity. I think this is one of the biggest things we have to do so that the police officers will not militarize our communities and treat our citizens as all citizens as criminal and then abuse them without recourse. So ending qualified immunity is pretty big. It would be a great pleasure for me to be able to do it statewide. I know Reverend Sharpton is working on it nationally as we speak, but for us to do it this year would be great. We're working on a couple of other campaigns. Off the top of my head, I'm thinking wrongful convictions. That's something we're working on now. We're not in the bail reform fight right now. I see both sides of that fight, and I'm just hoping they come to a peaceful resolution. We need to keep it in place, but we need to make some changes, minor changes, very minor, if any. And of course, voting rights. I'm working on some voting rights bills here as well. Climate justice also. So all of these things tie in. Our climate is dirty, and that's a social justice crime. We cannot have dirty communities with rodents and disease and filth. It's not good air quality for our children. So these are type of the issues that we try to advocate for and get behind. So those are a few off the top of my head. We're also working on technology bill, the social justice bill, how they're using facial recognition and how they're basically criminalizing and placing everyone they get facial recognition from in a database, sort of like a warrant squad. So even if, they're just criminalizing us left and right. And they're trying to ban menthol cigarettes. They legalized cannabis, and now they're telling grandma you can't smoke your cigarette. So these are things, and again, this is just another tool to put in their toolbox. So we have to push back against Bloomberg and his $2 billion campaign on trying to tell Black people you can't smoke the type of cigarettes you like to smoke, but all other people could smoke what they want to smoke, and they're smart enough not to smoke those products. But Black people, you need to be ban your products because you're not smart enough to stop on your own. So it's a lot going on here in the city, but stay awake with the Black leadership in place. I'm hoping something solid and impactful gets done. But those are a couple of things that's on our radar right now.
Okay, well, I appreciate it. How would you tell people to get involved? I mean, you mentioned something in regards not only just the voting piece, but when you start talking about health, you start talking about rats and rodents and community and health and engagement. That's a way that trickles to everybody. It affects the little kid, it affects the teenager, it affects the mom who's trying to take and the daddy's trying to provide. It takes grandma and grandpa's health. How do we get them engaged? Because so often this generation, a lot of people don't get involved in their communities.
I contemplate this question every day, Andy. How do we get engaged? How do we bridge the gap between the elders and the youth? I contemplate these gaps, and it's going to be hard. It's a continuous cycle. The young people feel they're invincible. We were there. We felt like we run the world. We were there, all of us, and we feel like our generation was the generation. And then we get older and we realize we didn't even know half of what was going on in the world. And basically, the hope is that all paths mostly leads to political paths, because after you work in and you have family and you put kids through school and you work and you do these things, you start seeing that a lot of things are not right, and you see that the level of power is politics. So it's tough, Andy. It's tough out here. So when you ask how do we do it, how do we get the kids engaged, right now social media. They're trying to ban TikTok. Why can't a Black inventor come up with a TikTok version, a Black version of TikTok? that we can enjoy and put different safeguards on there, because I'm a big believer that during school hours you should not be able to, kid under 18 17 should not be able to access their social media. They should not be able to record or broadcast or post or like anything until after school hours. So it's some things that we can do on our own, like I said, economic empowerment, but we need to civically engage these kids from the time they're born. And I mean that literally. I mean, to put a choice into them. You're going to vote for the red sweater today, or you're going to vote for the blue sweater today. You make everything a voting. You make everything and connected to a power, so they can understand that the government laws, they the ones who regulate the underwear we wear. You can't have these type of underwear we got on without the government regulating them. I mean, that's a real thing. So it's in the government, politics are in everything. We need to start teaching it as such. We need to let people know as they're growing up, they need to know city council member does. What does a Congress member do? What does a public advocate do? And they need to know all of these things growing up and how to plug them into their community. So that's how you got to engage them. But who's going to spend that money? A lot of the government, they don't want people to vote in large numbers because they could control it better when it's smaller numbers. So it's a dual-edged sword. You got some people wanting to do the right thing. You got some people doing business as usual. And then you got the new people trying to change the envelope, but they don't know what they're doing. So it's a funny cycle. So I sit back, I watch Reverend Sharpton, and I just try. You got to be patient. You got to be patient and just keep working. Just keep working. Put your head down. Keep working.
Okay, we're gonna put our head down and keep working. See Musa. We're gonna put Musa out until he comes back. So I want to bring Musa in because Musa, come on in, and you heard what Derek was just sharing. But I wanted to ask you, in addition, he said a lot in regards to how do we engage people. Your group with Community Peace and Peace December, and what we do with the Muslims and the Jewish relationship that you've been building. What would you say right now? What are the roles that some of these community groups can play in promoting social justice?
For whatever reason, I always have problem coming to your source. Can you repeat what you said?
Well, a breakdown with Peace December, the relationship that you've built with the Muslims and the Jewish community, and the work that you do just in the neighborhood. How are you actually going to tie in and incorporate the work that you do with the roles with the community groups that you participate in? How do you promote social justice?
How do you promote social justice? I think the first step is, number one, you have to, walk the talk. You have to be just, and you have to represent justice in the community. And there are a lot of times where, individuals, speak one way and act differently. Or sometimes, they may be preaching while people are saying, he's nothing but a hypocrite because, he's not known to be, living according to his preaching. I think the first thing we must do is we must associate with what we preach. We must walk the talk. We must represent, role models to our children, and we must lessen the incidences of violence and crimes in our communities so that not only law enforcement, but everybody else, will respect us. And, if you look at now, the rate of expenditure from the communities that, I lived in, and communities that are not well off financially, but we pay per unit higher than anybody else, even people in Midtown Manhattan, whether it is a liability insurance, whether it is a car insurance, home insurance, credit card, whatever it is that we are consuming, we pay more per unit because of the type of, unfortunately, high rates of, violent crimes. So my advice to your audience is that, let us walk the talk. Let us walk the talk. I have, in the last 25 years, I have seen so many people who talk about public safety, who talk about promoting peace, who talk about a lot of things, but they never ever walk the same talk. And unfortunately, it's a setback, to promoting social justice because, while, you may be in it for organizational funding or for whatever reason, you're creating more damage along the way. So let us represent that which we want to see in our community replicated, so that it will be very easy to sit down with our children and tell them, this is my bio, this is my history, this is where I am at, and this is where I'm heading, rather than saying one thing and then acting, the other. That's number one. Number two, we must also respect individuals' choices, lifestyles, liberty, and their dreams. We cannot conform to a single norm. We are, by divine creation, we're diverse in everything. How we look, how we talk, what we like, every single thing. And unfortunately, a lot of times we sever relationships because we disagree with one another on certain issues. So let's embrace and respect the diversity. But I would say, in order for us to be true messengers of social justice, we must live according to what we're preaching. And this is the strongest message that I can send.
I love that, and I appreciate that. All right, because you're absolutely right. People got to walk the talk instead of talking and giving it somebody else to do the walking. And that's things that happen in the world today. We got Monday morning quarterbacks and people and all that other wonderful stuff. But we are at a halftime of King Talk Tuesday. And as a former basketball player, gotta get my stretch on, make sure my jump shot's still flowing. But just want to say to everybody again, thank you again for tuning in. We're gonna take a halftime break. You're watching King Talk Tuesdays, the show with real views, real news, and real talk. We air every Tuesday, 8 p.m. on Facebook, as well as our YouTube channel. We also air every Thursday at 10:30 p.m. on Optimum Channel 70 and 52136. We'll be right back on King Talk after a message from a couple of our friends.
Revolution of hip hop. Bronx Terminal Market. 610 Exterior Street. Bronx, New York. Tuesday through Sunday. Pull up.
The Golden Era, 1986 through 1990.
Hi, Frank Perez here from Eastchester Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram. It's our Durangos Must Go inventory sell-off. Over 145 Dodge Durangos, all trims, all options, all colors, all must go. The all-wheel drive Durango has it all. Style, comfort, cutting-edge technology, and loaded with safety features. Get up to $2,750 bonus cash and even make no payments for 90 days. It's our Durangos Must Go inventory sell-off. Eastchester Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram. Pay the least in the East.
Oh, yeah, pay the least in the East. If you want to try to get to the West, go to Eastchester Jeep. Well, we're looking forward to also the Hip Hop Museum. They have their little a beacon working right now, but they're getting ready to open up next year, and it's going to be dynamic. 50 years of hip hop is being celebrated this summer. It's going to be so many events happening, so get excited. And be a part of one. I'm looking forward to June 3rd, Chiraq Day up here. First woman hip hop MC on the planet ever to happen and do it. I'm grateful to know she's from the Boogie Down Bronx. I want to give a shout out to a number of people who are tuning in, who are watching. One, I'm looking over here, Farrah Despinel. She says to us, she agrees. Sorry about that. She says she agrees with, where's the one? She says she absolutely agrees with Musa. Right on, Musa. That's why I say no more just to be at the table. I want to be where it all begins, in production and means of production, transportation at the kitchen table. I want to thank her for those words. And I see Eve Hendricks is joining us tonight. She's asking us, it all starts with respect. And we want to thank Eve and blessings to her and her family for all that they've experienced and doing what they've had to do. And a great shout out to Sharon Bell, who wanted to just say good evening to us all. And we thank everybody who was tuning in. We're going to start the second half, and we're going to go into the spiritual. But before I say anything, I want Musa, I know this is Ramadan, and I want you to just offer up a prayer for everyone who's watching. This is a time that I want to give thoughts and cares and energy. The last couple of years has been trying for the world, for us people, Black people. We've been going through it for more than a minute now, but for the world, we've been going through it. So I will ask you if you can just offer up a prayer for everyone, to to your community, your neighbors, your friends, your enemies, your frenemies, whoever that is. Musa, can you just guide us in some words of inspiration right now? We have lost his audio. Musa, we can't hear you, good man. Let's try it again. Did we lose your audio? Speak to us. We want you to offer up a prayer. We're going to come out with Musa, and then we'll come back in with him again to offer up a prayer, because I wanted to take this part of the show and move into a territory when we start talking about spirituality. Now, I know, Brother D, you Action Network with the Reverend Al Sharpton, and I know every Saturday at House of Justice some words of inspiration, motivation, and stimulation that gets dropped down on the House of Justice. So I want to hear a little bit more from you in regards to how does spirituality you think ties in or has a relationship in social justice?
Well, Andy, again, I'm sounding like a broken record, but a lot of the situations Black people have been a part of gotten out of, a lot of the harsh and challenging circumstances we have come out of has been due to the Black church. So that's something the Imam talked about. That's something that we're not doing with our children. We're all falling back on, you know, I have my own relationship with God. I have my own relationship with God without going to church. And I'm not a big church goer either. I don't go every Sunday. I go every Saturday when Reverend Sharpton has a Saturday Action Rally. That's the church I go to every Saturday for the last 5 years. But it has to be some balance in these children, Andy. And if it wasn't for the Black church, that was during slavery, that was one of the few things they would let us have, that we owned, that we controlled. And a lot of businesses and schools, colleges, our Black universities came out of the Black church. So we need to get our children back into the church, regardless of what denomination, whatever you want to do. They hear all this hip hop music and these bad images, and they see these bad images and hear this music without a balance. When I was growing up, I'd heard some bad hip hop music, I saw some bad TV shows, but at the end of the day, I was going to church. I went to a Catholic school, so I had a balance. I was okay with the Bible. I read the Bible. We had Bible study. So it was always a moral compass embedded in me as a young age. What a lot of these kids I see are not having. I see the incident that happened in Florida. Them kids are the babies. And, you know, they killed 3 people, 13, 14 years old. Where do you come with that mindset? You know, we have to start looking at gun violence, the people that are purchasing the guns, carrying the guns, pulling guns out in public and shooting, you know, their ops or whoever they want to do. We have to classify that as a mental illness. Anyone who has a gun and is recklessly is using it has a mental illness. So we have to the narrative has to change in our community. You know, we have to get back to God. We have to have faith. We have to have belief. Because you know, we got to keep going. Things are not going to always be easy. You know, you have a plan, but God will laugh at your plan and keep it moving. So we have to keep the faith. We have to keep the faith, and we have to get our kids to know God in some capacity, at least to give them some guidelines and morality and ethics. You know, they don't have it, and they're not getting it with their own personal relationship with God because they're not reading the Bible with their own personal relationship. They're not having conversations with individuals that are believers and that can share some knowledge and wisdom with them. They're not. So when they say that, we have to challenge that. We have to challenge that, because to have an own relationship, it means you're reading, you're praying, you're doing your own thing. It's not that you're not doing anything and you have your own relationship. That's having no relationship.
Right, exactly.
You know what I mean? So, we have to have a relationship with God. It has to be strong. We have to give it back to the kids. So we have to probably go to these adults, these young parents that have been having babies at 17, 16, 18, and then get a chance to learn and find God. So, but all things change. You know, they see the struggle. They know that they transition to a better job, city job. They know it's better. You know, you get these city jobs, you can't get a traffic ticket or you lose your job. So you go fly right. So let's start flying right early in life instead of trying to stumble to get back on track.
Right. I appreciate what you're saying, because when we start talking about people saying they have a relationship with God. I say for my viewers, and I got to help people recognize, I consider myself someone who knows a little bit of scripture. I consider myself a God-fearing brother. I consider myself someone who tries daily to walk in scripture. So when you look at me, you see a gentleman who's not just talking it, but he's walking it at the same time. That can be the best sample for anybody to follow, because it's hard for children to watch lip service to say, do what I say, but not as I do. And so many people say they follow God. Well, here's a wake-up call for some of you out there. The devil is a God. And if you don't know that, you might think you following the Most High in Christ, and you following all of Satan's wicked ways and rules and regulations and guidelines. And so if you're going to have a relationship with God, you better know what God you are following. You know, for a lot of us, money is a God. You know, we put all our whole essence into trying to get a dollar to do what? As you said, Brother Derek, to go consume, to give somebody else the money, to wear somebody else's name around your waist.
Make them wealthy. Make them wealthy. We're making everybody else wealthy.
Right. So I'm like, if you're going to spend that money, how about creating your own brand of something? And I had to tell one of the kids, you want to spend $200 for a pair of shoes, Nikes. I said, listen, you got investments in Nike? If you ain't got no stock in Nike, then, you know, you need not to spend $200 for a pair of sneakers when you're only bringing home $150 from your high school check. Don't make any sense, you know. So learning the economics of it all. But you hit the nail on the head when we start talking about the Most High in Christ, understanding that. And you said something, and I just want to reiterate, because I want people to really dive in. You cannot have a connection with the Most High in Christ if you're not reading his words. It just doesn't happen because you think it and you pray for it. If you got to pray for it, say, you're going to pray for it. Here's some words of instruction. I'll give you the understanding to understand those words of instruction. But if you do not, then your God is watching the Housewives of this, Survivor of that, reality show this, and buying into all the horrible music. And I'm glad what you said. There has to be a balance, because when we grew up, we had a balance. You read scripture, you went to church, and whatever that day that looks like, as you grow older, you learn a little bit more about spirituality, but you're able to say there's a balance. But I got to say, the lyrics that are out there today are horrible compared to what we were jamming to. You know, we were a little bit more empowered by some of the lyrics that the lyrics today are just about what that song, headed for self-destruction. Headed for self-destruction.
Yeah.
You know?
No, man. I mean, you know, these kids, you know, and these young drill rappers, Andy, they are getting a lot of money. These 16, 17, having large amounts of money, but they still acting in a certain manner. But, you know, we allow that in our community. We kind of encourage that as we grow up. And again, the young people run this stuff, and we're just the wisdom whenever they settle down. But we got to do a better job, man. If you're not, like you said, if you're not reading the scriptures, if you're not reading, you don't have a relationship with God. You know, right. There's no relationship. It's a relationship, but you're not talking. You're not on good terms.
The blueprint is there. You know, I go to a number of rallies, and I had to tell some of the people in the round, said, we can rally, we can march up and down, but the only way this changes if we actually walk and live in scripture, because the directions are there. And if we would sacrifice Manly's conversation and go into God's conversation, then I'm not trying to figure out, say anything that's designed to intentionally hurt you. I'm not making any transaction that's going to rip you off out of whatever spirit, financial, food, material. I'm not trying to do that, because my goal is to make sure that you're taken care of just as well as I'm taken care of. And they don't understand it. But let's switch gears right quick.
No, real quick. I wanted to say this. We can make it real easy for people. And I know Imam will appreciate this. But yeah, I used to do this, and I still do. I just don't eat 3 times a day. But if you wake up in the morning, be thankful you woke up. You pray. That's your first prayer. You thank God. People eat breakfast, lunch, dinner. Pray 3 times. That's your 4th prayer. And if you're lucky to make it through the day and get home and take a shower and get in bed, you should pray a 5th time. So it's a minimum. Everyone should pray 5 times minimum a day. That's the bare minimum. And I understand the Islamic, religion does that faithfully, but we all need to do that as a minimum. Say thanks 5 times a day. You're talking about 5 times a day saying thank you.
I appreciate that. And with that, saying thank you and saying a prayer, we're going to go to a youth group that's done a lot of work for the last 18 years serving the borough of the Bronx. We'll be right back after the message from the Bronx Youth Empowerment Program.
The Bronx Youth Empowerment Program, YEP, is a youth organization that has served the Northeast Bronx for 17 years. During our tenure, we have provided recreational and educational forums that have nurtured the growth of many youth in the community. YEP has also serviced hundreds of youngsters around New York City. YEP's target audience is youth from the age of 11 to 18 with the goal of helping youth become productive adults. YEP provides young people with resources to explore leadership skills, community involvement, and self-development. YEP consists of weekly and bi-weekly informational sessions with guest speakers from professional, political, and entertainment arenas. Also, as a part of community involvement, YEP will host trips to a variety of venues for educational and recreational experiences. As we continue to partner with other local organizations and serve our community, we will strive to unite and develop the youth in our community. The mission of the Bronx Youth Empowerment Program is building mind, body, and community.
Oh yeah, building mind, body, and community. That is the motto of the Bronx Youth Empowerment Program, designed to save children's lives. So we got Brother D Perk on as we wrap up the last couple of minutes of today's show. You know, I just want to quickly touch on two things. And I want to get your thoughts. And I know you got a convention coming up. I want you to talk a bit about that. But I want to get your quick thoughts on Tennessee. The Congress members. What in the world is going on in America and in government today?
It's sickness, man. Reverend Sharpton calls it wickedness in high places, Andy. He really does. And once he removed the wool over your eyes, you can't go back to nothing else. What's happening in Tennessee is a travesty. Young brothers newly elected, protesting with the people against gun violence. After another, there's been more mass shootings than there has been days to 2023. Understand this. There's more mass shootings than the days in the year that we've lived so far. And protesting, and they're getting expelled by their colleagues. It's just tremendous. One of them was brought back. Coincidentally, Andy, you know, here at the National Action Network, as I run the crisis director and I run the crisis department, about 3 or 4 months ago, when that young man was running, the chapter leader from the shout out to Cheryl Huff, my sister, vice president of the chapter down in Nashville, Tennessee, put him on our crisis call. So we got to know the young brother, see what his issues, areas, and what he was going to do. So I met the brother once, talked to him, stayed in touch with him through Cheryl. And what happened to them brothers is crazy. But they're coming to the convention. They'll be here. Andy. They're coming from Tennessee. Right. They'll be here. They're going to talk about what happened to them in person. So I'll wait for them to share before I comment more on that. But we all saw that as a travesty, as 2 black men. There was 3 individuals involved. 2 black men and a white woman, and the 2 black men got expelled and the white woman did not. And she, to her credit, she said it, because I'm a white woman and they're not, you know. Right. So this country has a long way to go. And we need to, you know, hold people responsible, man. These corporations, you know, these big corporations doing these commercials, you should okay to have an athlete say racism is whack. Racism should be, you know, because these racist people do watch these black athletes and entertainers, you know, so, and their kids watch them. So if they're programming their kids and they see entertainers and so on speaking against it, I think it would make a big cultural shift change in our country. But there's some people just sick, and they're going to keep it up, Andy.
Right. You know, it's interesting you say that, you know, that their kids watch. You remember the Spike Lee, Do the Right Thing, and they're having the argument in the pizza shop, and Spike is, and he calls out, well, Magic Johnson. You like Mike? He said, Magic Johnson, he's not black. We're like, what? You know, but you said that you don't see him as a black man, but he is a black man playing basketball. You looking at him as a greater than thou. He's an entertainer for you, and you love him for that. So you remove the skin color for that, but let Magic Johnson be your neighbor, and then see what the reality looks like in some of our dark woods in America. And you're absolutely right. We have to be better, and we have to do better. And I want to thank the National Action Network for it, and Reverend Sharpton for its longevity and standing and being on the front lines. And as I've been to a few of his conversations where he talked about, he's like the guy that you cut the light, shine the light on the cockroaches, and they all go scattering, But that's what people do. You got to shine a light on them, in order for them to change their ways, so people acknowledge their ways. And I want you to talk about the convention, but I do remember when the nation saw fire hoses being sprayed on kids and dogs in the civil rights, then that's when things started changing, because the TV revealed what was the ugly things that were happening in the South that no one knew because the newspapers couldn't cover enough. But when the video hit, at that point in time, they didn't convince you, don't believe your eyes. Today, they'll try to convince you, don't believe what your eyes see. So you have this convention. Nan has the convention coming up. Talk to us about it, the year, the time. What's it going to look like this year?
Andy, this year's convention is shaping up to be a big one. We are very heavy with the Biden administration coming through. His top department head, Secretary of State, Secretary of the Department of Justice, so on and so forth. So let me just get into a few notable events. Tomorrow, the ribbon cutting is taking place at 9 a.m. at 811 7th Avenue, Sheridan Times Square Hotel. The NAN 2023 Policy Convention will be underway. We have the governor, the mayor, of course, Reverend Sharpton, our chairman of the board, Reverend Dr. Franklin W. Richardson. So we're going to kick it off after the ribbon cutting, Andy, with Kerry Washington, the actor, producer, and activist, with a one-on-one chat with Reverend Sharpton. We're going to go there to Ben Crump, and then he's going to speak to the mothers and the family members of those who was taken too soon from us by police violence. Eric Gardner, Wanda Cooper Jones, the mother of Ahmaud Arbery, Botham Jean, George Floyd brothers, Trayvon Martin, Amir Locke, Tyree Nichols. Then we're going to have a couple of cabinet members from the Biden administration. We have Senator Gillibrand coming. We have Peter Buttigieg coming. We have Congressman Al Green coming. Dr. Miguel Cardona, the U.S. Department of Education, is coming. Susan Rice, I'm looking forward to her. She's the director of domestic policy at the White House, and she's the former U.S. National Security Advisor. We have Alejandro Mayorkas. He is the secretary for the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. We could talk to him about the borders. We have Robert Smith. He's the billionaire, the black billionaire, giving a plenary session. He's doing a workshop, increasing the utilization of diverse asset managers. So we're going to talk about how we can get these MWBEs. That's where you know me from, Bertha Lewis, dealing with the MWBEs, get them their share and their 1%. So we have the Keepers of the Dream reception. That night in the building, Reverend Sharpton will be honoring none other than Hill Harper and Tyler Perry, among others. We have confirmed the governor, Hakeem Jeffries, and Congressman Espaillat will also join Reverend Sharpton on stage to present this award. So you heard that here first. On Thursday morning, we have our Crisis Award ceremony. We're having 7:30 in the morning, a crisis department. Fought hard to get that. This is our second year in a row, but we brought some real good awards this year to give out to the hardworking, because the people that work in the crisis department, they all volunteer. They don't get paid. They volunteer their own time, and they work hard. So I appreciate everyone who works with me at the crisis team at the National Action Network. We have some African workshop about from roots to revolution, social justice in Africa. I think you want to catch that. We have another fireside chat with Ebony McMorris. She's a White House correspondent, and it's going to be Reverend Sharpton and Dr. Michael Eric Dyson. They do this every year. They speak. We have Irvin Magic Johnson Day. Okay. And it's going to be from 12 noon to 2 p.m. Magic Johnson is speaking for 2 hours at our convention. What is he speaking about? Magic Johnson is already affiliated with some people that have the contract, the main contract for the airport at JFK or LaGuardia. And he is going to show people calling NWBEs to come get this subcontractor money and how to apply and how to win these contracts. So that's going to be great. So they're going to follow that up with a chat with Eric Adams, Magic Johnson, and Reverend Al Sharpton talking together, Eric Adams. Eric and Magic Johnson sitting on another paddle at the. So it's Magic Johnson Day here at the House of Justice at the National Action Network. That women's luncheon, that tickets is gone. I know that people been calling for the women's luncheon. It's gone. I can't help you. We have all the mayors in public safety in urban America. I know we got 5 minutes left. I'm gonna get through this with Eric Adams, Lori Lightfoot, Michael Nutter, Sean Patterson. That's going to be a good one. Christine Clark. What else we have here? Attorney Michael Hardy is doing a great panel. He's the executive vice president and general counsel for the National Action Network, the state of U.S. social and criminal justice. And he has a great panel there. Maya Wiley, Ari Melber, the host from NBC. He'll be there. We have a gospel show that Thursday night. I know you're a man of God. We have a show Thursday night, Andy, and we're having another one on Friday night, Andy. The Battle of the Choirs. We're going to have 3 or 4 choirs battling it out. And we have one of the top, I'm not a big gospel guy, but I know it's one of the top gospel singers of our time is coming that night. So 2 nights in a row, we're going to have a big gospel thing. I think you should tune in. And last but not least, Andy, well, not last, but on Friday, we have none other than the vice president of the America, Kamala Harris, coming to our convention.
Okay.
Don't forget Saturday, which is the biggest day. I know you deal with the youth a lot. Actually, Dominique Sharpton, that's their day, the college and youth day for NAN. They got the talent show, music, entertainment, everything. Fashion show. It's going to be lit. We have Jim Jones and the rapper Mano coming to talk about 50-year anniversary of hip hop and what it means to them. So we have a whole bunch for everyone. Free to register. If you want to register online, www.nationalactionnetwork.net. We have registration on site in the lobby. If you don't register online, you just show up and we'll register you right in the lobby. And you
Derek, do me a favor, Derek. Repeat how to register again, a little slower. Read it a little slower. Maybe we can type in it. I don't know. Let's see. Again, go ahead.
To register, we're going to go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net. And you can also register on site at the hotel Sheraton Times Square, 811 7th Avenue, starting Wednesday, tomorrow at 9 a.m. It's going to be a beautiful 4 days. I'm going to be tired, but it's going to be worth it.
It's definitely going to be worth it. Brother D. Perk, I want to thank you for tonight. I want to thank you for your energy. Thank you for your wisdom. And thank you for the knowledge that's helping us understand social justice, where we are today, and how do we move forward to engage everyone into better tomorrow.
Thanks for having me, Andy. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right, my brother. Hey, as we always do on King Talk, we end every show with a scripture. Tonight's scripture reads from Isaiah 30, verse 18. And therefore will the Lord wait, that he may be gracious unto you, and therefore will be exalted, that he may have mercy upon you. For the Lord is a God of judgment. Bless all of they that wait for him. If no one told you today, God loves you, and so do I. Your friend, your brother, and your neighbor, Andy King. Corinne, are you there? Hello? Madam Producer? Yeah.